Hey, it's Daryl Olson from the Jackson Fishing Team. Tonight I'm going to struggle through, maybe not to show you how to do a Dahlberg Diver's deer hair head on a RZ's Mangrove Slider. And that's Capt Roan zumFelde. And he uses this around Naples for snook, redfish, small tarpon, whatever you want. That's probably in the water, but yeah, I'm on my fifth fly and it still doesn't look very good, but hey, I'm going to show you how the process anyway, and if it maybe someone out there can tie these a lot better than me, but you're kind of stuck with the way I'm going to tie it. Alright, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at the fly. This here is RZ's Mangrove Slider, and I apologize for the way that looks. This is like my sixth attempt. I normally don't do spun deer hair. I've been always afraid, and now you can see why. So why don't we get started, and you can laugh at me along the way, or don't be afraid to leave some comments about my lack of skill on this fly. On there, the hook I'm going to use is a Mustad S71 SAP in a 1/0. And of course, I like to debarb my hooks, so we'll take care of that. And I'm going to use a 210 denier thread in yellow. And we're going to go ahead and start this right back behind the eye of the hook. And we're going to take it just up above the barb of the hook. Where the barb used to be. And while we tie this, I've shifted up some of the materials. And I'll explain why I did that. Maybe I've got to tie more. The material we're going to use tail is going to be some 2 pieces of yellow marabou. And we're going to wet that marabou. And I'm going to tie this in roughly maybe 2 hook lengths. There's even those up. 2 hook lengths. And we're going to tie that right on the top. I'm going to have to tie a few more of these deer hair popper style flies, or so I can get better at it. You know, it's all it is getting out there and giving it a try. And if you didn't notice, I did put one thread underneath the tail to kind of hold it up. And we're going to trim that off. And you can tie these in other colors. I'm going to go with a rust, yellow and brown, yellow and red rust type colors on there. But we're going to need to put in 10 strands of silver flash on top of that marabou. So folding it over, I only need about 5 pieces. And then I'll be wetting this down to control it somewhat, and fold it in half and bring it underneath the thread there. And try to keep it right on top. And we're going to trim that off just slightly longer than the marabou. Next, we're going to put in some 4 barbed or grizzly hackles. If you had them dyed yellow, they would work also. I don't have any, so I'm just going with natural grizzly. I'm going to line up the tips, and I'm going to tie them concave in. I suppose you could go concave out, and the tips are the hackle is going to be slightly longer, or approximately the same length as the crystal flash, or not the crystal flash, the silver silver tinsel, or and then I'll put 2 more on my side, you know, just slightly the same length. And I leave the fuzzy stuff on because it'll kind of help keep the stuff in line. Otherwise, if it was just a bare stem, it'll have a tendency to roll on you when you're putting it on there. I don't know if that's a trick, but next we're going to do is we're going to add in 2 clumps of this rust colored deer hair, and this is body hair. And you're going to want to get it about, they say, a pencil, and I'm not very good at judging that on there. And then I'm going to try to get rid of the shorties or the under fur, under hair. I'm going to grab a brush and remove them that way. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it in a stacker to even up those tips. So far it's all pretty easy for me. Now we're getting to my issue in there. So I'm going to take it out. I want the tips facing towards the back because this is going to kind of create and I probably want the tips to be just about where the hook bend is. And I'm just going to trim this off. And give it some loose wraps. And kind of, hopefully that will spin around. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to try to do some loose wraps going back over this, just to and then I'll do another clump. This will probably be also a long video, I guess. And again, I'm going to comb this out. And instead of going a little shorter, I'm going to kind of do this one so that it kind of got more hair coming up here, and then when I'm trimming it, it might look much better than the other ones. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. It doesn't look so good. And this time I'm going to kind of leave that a little long. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Make sure it goes all the way around. And now I'm going to try to push some of this back. And then I'm going to bring the thread forward. Pull it forward like this. I don't know if you can see that. Through that. And then I'm going to kind of like throw a half hitch into that. Just to hold my place. The next color will be red. I've been tried using this belly hair, but I'm finding issues that it's really short and it doesn't seem to get enough. So I'm going to go and try some body hair. And I only need one clump of this. I don't know if I can get a better grip on it or what it is, but I'm giving it a try. And then, since I'm going to be trimming this one, I'm not worried too much about that the tips. I'm just going to kind of line up the butt end, the part that I cut. So the cut ends are flat. And give it 2 loose wraps. And we'll try to spin that. don't know if I'm doing any better, but hey, nothing like fly tying to relax you or maybe frustrate you when you're doing something that you've never done before. And I don't know. And then we'll throw in a half hitch there. Next we're going to do yellow, and of course I had the same issues using yellow with the belly hair. I'm going to use one that's a little bit longer in fibers. Maybe that'll make it look better. I don't know. We'll find out. And clean that out. And then I'm going to level up those butt ends. Give it a couple loose wraps. Try not to. Then we'll try to spin that around. Yeah, if I'm going to do this, I might get me a packer maybe. And then we'll give it some couple half hitches and then tie it off. Give it a half hitch. We'll have to apply the thread again because we're going to put a weed guard on here. Alright, I don't think that looks too bad. Now's where I screw up a lot at, and we will see how I can manage that on there. Next we're going to need a razor blade, double edge. I've got one of these little fancy tools here. You could do it by hand. The first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to trim the bottom flat. And then I'm gonna put an angle on this a little bit. So help me make a curve. I guess you could cut it all square, but tighten it up a bit. And then gonna go really slow here. I don't wanna really cut into the red right away. And then I want that red to stay up a little bit. And I'm gonna kind of cut down into it this way. Make sure I don't. Yeah, it's still not very good, in my opinion. But who knows? The fish might like it. All right. Now we'll start the thread and we'll put some hard mason in there, hard mono, and it's 30 pounds. I'm just going to cut off a little bit here. And that part. I'm going to kind of fold this in half. And then bend that. I'm gonna just kind of position that right there. And pull this down. Kind of make sure that the hook point is kind of like in between that. And we'll whip finish. And we're going to trim this just so it's above the hook point. And we'll put a little UV fin on there. And there's my attempt at spinning deer hair, making a head, Dahlberg style head out of it on there. But yeah. Yeah, well, that's my attempt. Hopefully you got the feel on what I was trying to go through, and I think I've got maybe to tie quite a few more deer hair type of heads, poppers, whatever, to start maybe getting a little bit more proficient at it. But if I can do it on the camera, there's no reason why you can't attempt this at home. So yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm going to find out if this works on that Florida trip coming up, This was my last fly for that series for saltwater. I need to start tying some flies for my vacation when we go up to New Hampshire, Conway, New Hampshire, and I'll probably tie some unique trout flies that have to do with the Saco or you know, those up in that area there. Maybe some flies for Maine. So we'll see what we come up with on that. But I'm going to get back onto some trout flies after this one here, now that it's done, and I'll give you a good report back next time when we're online to how the Greenbrier Fly Fishing Classic went and what flies were hot up there for me and for others. All right, Daryl Olson, we'll see you on the water. Have fun.